All right, welcome everyone. Another edition of Mammoth Live After Hours is on the air. I guess it's just Mammoth After Hours, but we are live, so that's fun. If you want to throw us some comments, go ahead and do so. We're very pleased to have Thomas Vela join us tonight here on the program. And Thomas, first off, great to talk to you. First time really getting a chance to interview you. You've had quite, boy, when you score a goal, you're not for boring goals, are you, man? You had that beautiful give and go right on top of the cage the other night. Talk about, I know you had two, but talk about that one in particular.
Yeah, it was it felt good. It was a slower start to the game for me. I kind of left 10 minutes in cuz got high sticks. I had to go get a couple stitches quick and that was my first shift back, so just came in flying with some energy and it was obviously nice to get a goal in with the boys and celebrate obviously in the Loud House. Yeah.
Yeah, I feel like you looked like there was a goal. I'm an Oilers fan. I don't know if you saw the McDavid goal last night. They got pumped by Anaheim, but Draisaitl got the puck like just over, on the red line, the neutral zone, and all of a sudden McDavid comes in the screen, just flying past everybody. I feel like that was what you look like on that goal. But I just, just looking at your career. You were drafted in the second round by Rochester in 2022, picked up by the Mammoth. Tell us about your time with the Mammoth. Obviously, going to a team that's been a contender, and obviously last year is a write-off for you guys. But you've been getting in the lineup, and there's been some injuries here and there, and just talk about that transition to the Mammoth and what that locker room is like, and what it's like to be a part of.
Yeah, it's been great so far. It's my second season or kind of first full season with the team, and it's been good. Obviously, early in my career, I didn't really get enough, or fortunately, didn't really get in the lineup a lot. And obviously, since coming to Mammoth, I've been able to get in the lineup, so that's obviously good. And yeah, the guys are great right off the bat. Everyone's super welcoming. Obviously, it's nice. There's a lot of guys from BC, so right off, already know a couple familiar faces. Everyone's super welcoming, and yeah, just I don't know. It's such an organization. It's so surreal to play. Just playing at Ball Arena is just crazy. I just feed off the energy, just seeing all the fans. It's remarkable. So special. Um, yeah.
How's the season been so far for you guys? A little bit up and down, right? But you get that big seventh win. Obviously, a weekend off this weekend, then a tough stretch. Where are you mentally? First off, what the hell's with two bye weeks around two games? It just feels like it's been a bit of a weird schedule.
Yeah, it was a little weird. It was that the last bye weekend was definitely needed, a little good stretch we had there, and then this one feels it's definitely gonna be a little bit odd coming up just while we're kind of getting back in the groove of things. But obviously take our time off and rest up and refocus. But it's just, the next six games, it's right getting down to playoff ball, getting ready for that. Hopefully making it there as we expect to be, and just keep feeding. Yeah.
Yeah, your left side is pretty stacked, right?
Hmm.
And obviously adding Will Malcolm, huge pickup. You've been able to get in the lineup there. You've been going strong left, and likely, the rest of the year, with Zed going down, which
Hmm.
is a huge blow. That may solidify you in the lineup. Every night going with four lefties. Talk about that dynamic. I know I was a left-handed forward. I wasn't a fan of playing with three guys on the same side, but you guys seem to just have a lot of chemistry, and when you guys are going, like obviously, the history of the Mammoth the last few years, not great starts, right? You guys are always kind of crawling back and then have big
Hmm.
fourth quarters. I always talk about Dylan Ward shutting the door, and then the offense, kind of finishes the game for you guys. But how important is it to get off to good starts in this league, so you're not digging yourself a hole?
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, first off, yeah, we're definitely gonna be missing Zeddy. He's the heart of the team. He's such a good guy, and just feel awful, obviously, what happened to him. Wish him a speedy recovery. And then, our left side, we're good. I mean, I've known a couple of the guys for a couple of years, and it's just everyone clicks well. We're always cracking jokes. Everyone's getting along, like outside of the rink, not at the rink. So that's obviously easy. And I always grew up playing lefty strong. Oddly enough, like we would only have 4 or 5 righties on our team, all through minor lacrosse. So I was always used to playing on the left side so that part just kind kind of comes naturally to me on how to fit in that. And then, yeah, sorry, I forgot the last part of that you were asking about.
Just the fast starts. How good has it been to get off some like
Oh,
you took the play to him right away
yeah.
this last week?
Yeah,
5-0.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's important. Yeah, like you said, previous years obviously slower starts, but yeah, it's just I don't know. I don't know if it's the warm up or what, or just we really focus on trying to play in a full 60 minutes, and you start how you play, right? Like you're not going to win in the first minute, you're not going to win in the 5 minutes, but you can wear them down. Those first 5 minutes can really head off at the 55th minute mark or the 60th minute mark, like. Just by playing hard, it wears them down, keeps us up, and yeah.
So I am curious what you talked about getting to play for this organization, and obviously everybody loves playing in the Loud House. What has it also been like being able to learn from a guy like Eli McLaughlin or Connor Robinson, or you were here with Chris Wardle a few years ago before they traded him, right? What has it been like to learn from them, guys that really know how to put the ball in the net in this league?
Oh yeah, they know how to put the ball in the net. I remember watching them when I was a younger guy, as a kid, and always seeing their names on the scoreboards and stuff, and then now getting to talk to him, see a personal side, and just learning from him all the different plays, all the what they see on the floor, why they're doing this, why they're doing that, just habits, and they're all really good guys, easy guys to talk to. Whatever question, how dumb it is, how good it is, they're always willing to answer and always being helpful.
What I see the Mammoth jersey there behind you. What are the other jerseys you got hanging on the wall there? Is that a Burnaby jersey? The green and white? What is that?
Well,
what do you got?
Sure. I got
let's see.
My junior jersey. My last year
Love
junior. I got when I got traded to Victoria my last year, there in the corner.
Now, is that a Shamrock jersey?
Yeah.
Victoria Shamrock? Okay, nice. Come on now. We're coming up on St. Patty's Day. There's nothing. I want a Shoe Chuck Shamrock jersey, but I can't seem to get any jersey out of there.
Yeah. I got that one. Got my first year of junior there when I was 16 for Burnaby, and then I just have one of my midget national Team BC jerseys hanging up.
Which one's your favorite?
Which one's my favorite? I mean, I like the Mammoth jersey, but I don't know. I like the Team BC one. It was kind of always a goal of mine to be a captain there. So the fact I got to do that was pretty special to me.
Yeah, myself and Matt Brown, who you saw earlier, are Burnaby alum. Long time ago. I don't know when you were born, but Matt Brown, late 90s, early 2000s. We were part of that, kind of dynasty. In the Canadian Lacrosse Hall of Fame, actually, for that stretch. Let's talk about that organization. I mean, it's been obviously, 20 years for me since I was out there. I know things have changed a lot, but, just talk about your time in junior. And, obviously Coquitlam has always been, is always a powerhouse. Your Mammoth head coach, Pat Coyle, is been very successful there with the Adinex. Let's talk about your route there and, playing junior and then, your path to the NLL.
Yeah, so obviously Burnaby born and raised, so I played all my minor in Burnaby as well. So then it was obviously pretty special being able to play for the junior team. Obviously, like you said, like all the history and stuff. I was born in 2002, so I maybe only really recognized the late stretch of that dynasty.
We won our Minto in 2005, so
in
wow.
2005, yeah.
That was the last one, by the way. Last one that Burnaby won. So
yeah. Just always seeing those banners hung up in that Bill Copeland Arena was always pretty cool. Always kind of a goal of mine. Obviously, unfortunately, didn't have that chance. But yeah, just obviously through junior, and then had a good couple of years, and then obviously decided to enter the draft, and was fortunate enough to get picked. And the rest is kind of just history. That's 3 years. That's 3 years ago now. So
I'm curious. We had Connor Robinson on earlier in the year. He's actually done a couple shows. He was talking about working on shots, working on offensive stuff, working on stuff at the old, the barn where you practice before he brings it out on the floor. Do you have the same process? Do you work on something before you bring it to a game? What is that like before you try something in live action?
I think, just kind of, I always go to fortunate enough, I go to the backyard. I'll just go out for an hour and just shoot whatever, just how crazy it is, how sharp it is. Sometimes it'll just be shoot a top left overhand, and then other days it'll be throwing twisters and all around the world and backhands. Kind of just, I feel like I can always try to pull something off in game, but it's just how fancy I want to be, and if I want to get willing to get yelled at if I miss it, But yeah.
I'm curious. Did you have it? Because I can't remember who's on the floor, so I apologize. I think it was Connor, but I'm not positive. Did you get a good look at that last one scored by Eli, where it just felt like from where Jamie and I were at the top of the building, he looked like Jordan. He just hung it. Like I kept waiting for him to come down on that shot, and it was just like he froze himself up there. Do you have anything like that in your bag? Were you amazed by that shot?
Oh, that was an impressive feat by him. That's Eli McLaughlin right there. That's top notch. Yeah, that was pretty crazy to witness. I was on the bench and seeing that. We were all just loving it, just hyping him up. But yeah, I had a couple of those back in my junior day. I'd like to say. I think I'll say I do. We'll see if I did. But yeah, hopefully maybe down the road, maybe feed off him a little bit and do the same.
Let's move on to the rest of March here. We won't see you back in Ball Arena until April 5th.
Mm-hmm.
And you guys got, you have Philadelphia, Ottawa, and Saskatchewan. I've been saying not easy places to travel either.
Mm-hmm.
Being on the road against, those are no slouches. Obviously Saskatchewan just dropped a tough one to Buffalo there, but you're playing a team in the top of the league. Hate to bring it up, but you guys have 3 losses to teams that are, in the basement of the NLL. Do you guys feel like you're, you play up, you play down to the team you're playing against? Like, I know it's not something you think about, but, now that it's happened, like, how do you assess that, moving into this stretch of the season where you're gone all March?
Yeah, obviously it's gonna, obviously it's more challenging playing on the road, right? With travel and stuff, but I think it's just always, we're always talking about in the locker room, keeping water, right? Like you're gonna have your highs, you're gonna have your lows, but just trying to be flat and find that groove. And yeah, it's gonna be tough going in. Obviously, big one, Philly in next or in 2 weeks, 2 weeks now. But yeah, it's just we have the mindset now. It's playoff ball, like it's ready to go, ready to get it going.
All right, we got a quick question, which this has been a little bit controversial. I don't know what hockey team you support, but I doubt it's Utah. How psyched are the Mammoth to have a professional hockey team try to copy their name? Have you seen that? They're going to maybe go with the Utah Mammoth, and the logo looks eerily similar.
I have. It's bogus. That's terrible. let's get a little. There's only one Mammoth, and real fans know who that is. But yeah, they got to get a little more creative over there.
Thomas, man, we really appreciate it. Thank you. Maybe we'll grab you again before the end of the year. Let's keep the winning up and going. I'm glad that, you're healthy and you're enjoying it. And you know what? Hey, next time we're back in April, don't be afraid to break out that dive like Eli had. We'd love to see it. So.
Yeah, sounds good. Thanks for having me.
All right. That is Thomas Vela.
We
appreciate him stopping by. And we've got a full backstage. If it was a green room like we've got at the radio station, I don't think we'd have enough room. So let's welcome your old teammate and a guy. I covered this guy not only as a Mammoth, but also as an outlaw. There's Coach Matt Brown from the University of Denver. And, oh, yeah, while we're at it, let's just get his defensive coach in as well. Our guy, John Gallant, between the benches all the time. By the way, Johnny, I want to start with you. Did you see Rycroft for the Avs last night? He stands in your spot that you're at on Mammoth broadcast. He practically had to bail out of there because the guy's got a little rough in front of him. Have you ever had like the fight spill into that area that you're in?
We've had a couple coaches, throw some water bottles in there. We had, one coach kick the mute button out onto the floor. That was a bit of a problem. Fortunately enough, I haven't had anyone spill in there, but been pretty close a few times.
Coach, what do you remember about your playing days? Way back in the day. I think I got to call a couple of your games before you retired. I did more with you as the Outlaws when we first got started in we'll just call it Mile High. I can't even remember what's sponsored by now, but what do you remember about your Mammoth days?
Well, it's my Mammoth days. I didn't have many Mammoth days. It was a short season for me, but I had some key highlights. Obviously I was part of the team when Johnny was the captain, and his first year there, and it was pretty special group. I know they were just coming off a championship, and some great lacrosse players, some great leaders in that locker room, guys that I really looked up to, guys that I took a lot from in my own game, guys that I take a lot from in my coaching game as well. But I always want to touch on Thomas Vela. Shuey brought it up and started talking about the Burnaby Lakers, and 2002 he was born. That's starting to make it pretty darn old, Shuey? But it was great to see that. Who would have thought that on one given night you've had two Burnaby boys on the Mammoth podcast? So that's pretty cool.
Yeah, good to see. Matt, I want to ask you, obviously Andy, Johnny, and I are calling the games, but, I know you're obviously a huge fan of the sport and you follow the Mammoth. Give me your take from, coach's perspective, fan perspective on how the Mammoth are looking this season so far.
Yeah, Andy, I don't know if you know this, but Jamie and John do, but I watch every one of your guys' games. And so I'm there on ESPN Plus, and I'm bouncing back and forth. And I'm obviously a huge fan of the NLL and a huge believer of the box game. But it's been great to see the Mammoth. The one thing that really popped last time they were out is I feel like their offense is starting to flow a little bit better than it was early on in the year. The ball movement is starting to swing, and you look at when you have arguably one of the best goalies in the world, who can get hot at any time. You got a shot at this thing. If you have a goalie in this league, then you have an opportunity, if you can get in the playoffs, to make a run deep into the playoffs and even win this thing. But Patty Coyle does a tremendous job of not just relying on individuals. I think you look at them at the defensive end, they play a really great team system. You look at them at the offensive end with the way that they swing the ball from boards to boards. It's been pretty impressive, and so I'm excited for what's to come in this final stretch for the Mammoth boys.
Look, I'm going to cut you guys free to chat, but I do want to let you know. So I'm sure you know Rob Gronkowski, the famous tight end for the Patriots. He had a brother named Dan that was a Bronco for a while, and Dan wanted to get in the media. So one Memorial Day, he came and did the show with us, and it happened to be you guys. I want to say, I think you were playing Maryland because I know Rob was or Dan was kind of rooting for him, but he was impressed with your offense. He loved the ball movement. He loved how it would, it hop sticks and the shooting and all that stuff. How much of the indoor game have you put into what you run now at DU? Because you were the OC back when we were watching this game. You weren't. Obviously Coach Tierney was there, but
over the years it's been quite a bit. And I wouldn't say it was more on the ball movement side of things. It was more on the people movement side of things. It wasn't just two mans pick and rolls. It was kind of a blend. And I think if you look at, if you ask players, that's how they like to play. To be honest with you, it's something we're stressing a great deal right now with our current team. We're trying to instill those qualities and that type of theme of play with our offense this year. I feel like we've got a group that is capable of doing that. Like the Mammoth, we don't really have that alpha. We need to do it collectively as a group. And so ball swings, whether it be through the top from one side to the other or getting in and out of X, it's hard to cover. It's really hard to cover when you have the ball in your stick for such a little amount of time.
Got a question for John here, but want to bring up, talk about Hall of Fame and stuff. Little fun fact about John Gallant. Wayne Gretzky is in the same Hall of Fame as John Gallant, Brantford, Ontario. Talk about your career. I know obviously we've had, I know you well, but talk about your path to the NLL. You're definitely one of the old dogs, one of the pioneers of the sport at this point. If you look back at all the teams and, the Washington Power and that kind of thing, share how, your contract signing there with Steve Govett and, just talk about your path to the NLL and how important the Mammoth has been, not only to your career, but your entire life.
Yeah. It's a pretty unique, I guess, you don't really think about it, too much, you get asked, sometimes, like this and when you reflect on it, it's, it's pretty amazing just in the sense of, time, being in the right place at the right time. And so, I was, listening to, the Mammoth player there before and being drafted and his unique path to NLL, and, that was definitely not mine. And so, I was a free agent, I was never drafted. And, Steve Govett and Darius Kilgore, and Dave Huntley, who's been instrumental in Canada lacrosse. They signed me as a free agent at, in the parking lot of a Ontario Senior A playoff game. And, I played for Darius in the summer. And so, I was just offered a tryout, and I was still in school at the time. And so I would drive about 5 hours from northern Michigan to Detroit and spend the night, at my sister's couch in Detroit, and get on a flight from Detroit to Midway in Chicago, then Chicago to Baltimore, and practice, over the weekend, and then fly back and drive 5 hours again, up to Sault Ste. Marie, Michigan. And, graduated at Christmas, and then moved down to Washington, D.C. and, was there, obviously, right. That was, the winter of 9/11. And so, traveling was obviously a challenge and things like that, but played, 1 year, in Washington for the Washington Power. And, very similar to the Colorado Avalanche, moving from Quebec, to here in Denver, that's what we did. And, I'll never forget, we had, Paul Gate and Gary Gate, were on our team. We had a number of Americans, one of the founders of Under Armour, Kip Fulks was on our team, and that company was just starting, Gary Gates would, make us dinner, and Dave Huntley would bring us to Baltimore Raven games, and just so we could survive, as players. And that year, that my rookie year was, we played early. We played on the Saturday of American Thanksgiving, which was, this past year was the season started early as well. And so, just things like that bring back, kind of those memories. But our owner at the time, so this is 2001 to 2002. And we lost in Buffalo. We came back to Washington. We beat Toronto. And the owner came into our room, our locker room, and was like, I can't afford this team anymore. We're going to fold. And Gary and Paul Gate paid everybody's salary for that year. And I made $4,000. $4,000 was my rookie salary, and I lived.
You were killing it.
Loved it. I lived one-bedroom apartment with our two goalies in Towson, Maryland. Thought it was the greatest thing around. Right, like what a life, right? And so what ended up happening, we were a really good team. We had a playoff game in Philadelphia. And, Philadelphia, Tom Maricek and they had Dallas Elliott and, sold out, right? It's, and, they would chant, you would go on the floor, they would introduce you, Jamie Shuchuk, and the crowd would chant sucks. And it was the best. It was greatest, right?
Yeah. And
at that game was, a man who was the managing partner of the restaurant that's in Ball Arena. And he saw us play and came back to, Kroenke Sports and said, you guys got to buy this team. And so, he bought us and, we moved out here, right, as a franchise. And so it was kind of a whirlwind to, as a player, playing with, Paul and Gary, and playing with, Brian Reese, and ended up at one point being the general manager of the Outlaws and that for a long time, and played with all these great guys. And you never really think about how lucky you were to be in the right place at the right time, and how lucky we were to be seen when we did, so that our franchise could move out here. And how quickly or how easily it could never have happened, right? And without those guys. But it was, Josh Sims came in and said, "Hey, I got married." Oh, that was great. And our owner came in and said, "Yeah, can't afford you anymore. Team's going to fold." And we're like, "It's been nice 2 games, right?" And those guys said, "Yeah, we'll kind of pay it." And so I got a personal check from Gary Gate for 16 weeks that totaled about $4,000.
Matt, you were here at the beginning of the Outlaws. Can you talk a little bit about? I mean, you watched a lot of growth of this sport. Now, again, Vail Shootout's been here forever. I try to remind people as a native, there's a passion for the sport out here, right? But nothing like you guys have all coached youth. You've all coached youth together, right? And now we've got the box league going. Just talk about your impressions and how the growth of the sport since you came to Denver.
Yeah, it's been pretty wild to see this whole thing. I first got to Denver right when the Mammoth moved, in the story that Johnny just told, and I feel like that was really the start of the growth of lacrosse here. The Vail Shootout's been around forever. There was a lot of youth organizations. There was more kids playing, but you had the Mammoth come in. And what year was that, Johnny? You said 2002?
It would have been the winter of 2 to the spring of 3. Yeah.
Spring of 3. And then, you fast forward 3 years later, in 2006, the Denver Outlaws get announced. And so now you have a pro indoor team. Now you have a pro outdoor team. One's playing at then Pepsi Center, now Ball Arena, and the other one's playing at Mile High Field and drawing 32,000 fans for a July 4th game. And you started to see more pros start to move out to Colorado. You start to see more pros stick around in Colorado and create their lives. You got 3 guys right here that did that, and started families and started to coach and give back to the game and start to develop kind of the next generation. And it's been pretty amazing to see what we've been able to produce here as a whole from the greater Denver area. I would say the next thing would be, I would say before the Mammoth would have been DU going Division I in 1999, and Dan Ritchie, who unfortunately passed away a few weeks ago, took our university Division I during that year, and that was kind of a big moment for the sport exists here. And then you fast forward after the Outlaws, and you look into 2009 when Coach Tierney headed west, and he left Princeton, where he won 6 national championships and 14 Final Fours, and really you look at all those key moments. Mammoth then winning a championship, Pioneers then winning a national championship, Denver Outlaws then winning a championship, Denver then in 2014 hosting the World Lacrosse Championships, which Canada won. I have to throw that one in there for. But those were all like big time moments in our sport here locally that have helped grow this great game. And I still believe it's just the beginning. I still believe that with all the people that we have here, with all the excitement, with all the participation at the youth level, it's kind of changed. It's shifted. It's kind of going down a different path than it used to be, but it's really just the beginning. And I really believe that you'll see and continue to see some of the best players in the sport come from this area.
Yeah, I think that's a good segue to, let's talk about the foundation of US Box LA. I'll never forget. I think it was 2009, 2010 when Bill Tierney came and you guys started Denver Elite, and it was field lacrosse and his son Trevor, and you guys were running it. And I remember you called me and you're like, "Hey, you want to coach box?" And of course, yeah, what are we doing? And I believe you had, it was like the guys that you cut that didn't make the field teams. And we put together a couple teams and went up to Calgary, and that was the evolution and I'll never forget that. It was just me and you. I think we booked flights 2 days before we had to go, and and the Deerfoot Inn and Casino has, been a mainstay in Calgary for our program. But, it's crazy to see how far we come or how far we've come here in Denver. But, obviously you're one of the founders of US Box LA, and, we're seeing guys now actually play in the NLL that have been through that system. We have a couple guys, Richie Connell, Jake Taylor, who have gotten drafted here out of Colorado, and Jack Hanna's lighting it up from Ohio, and I think we're going to see more. There's no doubt about it. Obviously we go to all the tournaments still, but just talk about that. I know that's a big passion for you and I, just developing the game. And I was never a big field lacrosse guy, and I enjoyed it, but box is definitely my thing. But let's talk about how how US Box LA came about. What was the idea, and where you see it now, basically 14, 15 years later.
Yeah, those two teams, Shuey, that we took, I can't remember the year, but it's got to be a dozen years ago. They're all starting to blend together here. But, the goal with that was we cut a bunch of kids from Denver Elite Field. And, and thinking back to my youth, and I know I could speak for you with your youth, but, one of the coolest experiences that I ever had was going to Calgary and playing in the Canada Day Lacrosse Tournament. The 4 pads, it was buzzing around. It was like a carnival. And I thought to myself, why not give these guys a chance to go experience and have a ton of fun? And I'll never forget that year because we were kind of late to the party. So I was able to get a Bantam team in the B division, which is where we should have been. But the Pee Wee team, all they had was an A division slot. And so, I called you up. We got together. We had a handful of practices before we went. I remember going to a used sporting goods store to buy hockey jerseys and getting the emblem kind of printed on them. And we went up there, and my dad was on the bench in the first play of the game. I think they scored like 5 in a row in the first minute. And this is the PBA game. And I had to call a quick timeout because everybody on the bench and on the floor was crying. Every guy was crying.
Nobody had rib pads. They're hitting me off ball, coach. What's going on?
No rib pads. Our goalie had baseball back catcher pads on. He didn't even have real box shin pads. And we were just kind of winging this thing, as you said. Johnny wouldn't have liked it. He wouldn't have been able to handle it. He would have wanted a detailed itinerary, but we didn't have that back then. But the goal was to give him that experience. And then when we got up there, Shu, I don't know if you remember this or not, but I was walking around the rink, and there was this team playing. Here I am thinking we're the first ever American team to come north of the border, play box lacrosse. This is so cool. And then I look over, and on the floor, there's a white jersey with this big bear. Looks like a big bear on it. And I'm like, that kind of looks like the California flag. So I went over to the parents, and I said, where are you guys from? And they're like, well, we're from California. And I said, no way. I said, I thought we were the first to come up here. And here's a team from California. I found out who it was. It was Shaden Santos, who played in the NLL for a number of years. I think 15 years in the NLL, played for the San Jose Stealth. And I was able to connect with Shaden, didn't know him at the time. And that was in 2009. And then 2010, we said, why don't we do this thing together? Box lacrosse is such a great game. More American kids need exposure to it. There really wasn't anything of substance in the U.S. at that time. And so we created US Box LA. And, we started with, 50 kids, and, we've gotten as high as 35,000. And so we've got kids that are playing from coast to coast all over. Then fast forward in 2017, I believe it was, we started the Colorado Collegiate Box League. And then from there on out, we started the National Collegiate Box Series, which now we have, roughly around 22 college-age kids that are playing, teams across the country that are playing during the summertime, that come together at the end of the summer, at the beginning of August, to play for a national championship. And I know, Shuey, you've coached the Colorado team, last couple of years. I know you had that experience of going out there, playing at that beautiful facility in Utica. But you're bang on when you said there's a lot of U.S. talent that has played box lacrosse now. Jack Hanna played in that first ever championship with Jake Taylor, by the way, which that was pretty darn cool. We had the Fighting Bison versus the Ohio Rivermen. We flew the NLL commissioner in. We had 3 NLL GMs in. It was under the lights down in Orange County. And I tell you what, there was some high-level lacrosse being played. And so just been pretty cool to see all these guys kind of come through it. I think you're starting to see the gap being closed a little bit on the international front. You saw the women's U.S. team beat the Canadians, unfortunately. You saw the men's U.S. team put a good fight up against the Canadians, but beat the Iroquois Nationals, Haudenosaunee, to get to that championship game. The game is continuing to grow, and it's been pretty cool to see the evolution of it. And like I said before, I believe it's just the beginning.
All right, I'm gonna let people go in stages because we needed to get John's take on some of the game that we saw. Coach, before we let you go, we have the Mammoth out of town for a good month, but I just checked the DU schedule. You got the 16th, I think, and the 29th, where you got games Ohio State, right, and Villanova here, that everybody can get out to DU and watch, and we want everybody to do that. So we really appreciate you jumping on. It's been a lot of fun having you, and it's just a lot of it's real special to watch the success continue. So congratulations to you, because I know I gotta imagine it was a little daunting replacing Bill Tierney, wasn't it? But you did a hell of a job last year.
You don't replace him, that's for sure. Yeah, you just got to be yourself, and we're fortunate that we've got a lot of great people in our program that make this thing work, and we got some great young men that care a great deal. So we're going to continue to push it. We've got tough opponents coming up with Yale this weekend. Then, as you mentioned, we're home against Ohio State, Duke down in Dallas, which will be pretty cool the following weekend, and then Villanova at home for our alumni game, which I know will be pretty darn special. So if people are out there, we'd love to see you at Peter Barton, the best lacrosse venue there is in college lacrosse. Come cheer us on. So, Andy, thanks for having me. It's always a pleasure listening to you, Jamie, and John on these NLL broadcasts. I watch them all, and I can wholeheartedly say there's nobody that does a better job out there than you three. And so thanks for everything you do for the sport, and thanks for having me on tonight.
Coach, we appreciate it, man. We'll see you out there, Peter Barton. Take care.
Take care, guys.
See you, buddy.
All right, Johnny, I know you probably have some coaching stuff to do, and I'm going to let Jamie get his thoughts in here as we wrap it up. But A, your thoughts on the game the other day, and B, John, I think you missed the game where Zed tore his Achilles, but I think I said it to you right away, Jamie. Unfortunately, in football, I've seen that way too often, where a guy grabs his leg and it's bad, and the team revealed today that he's out for the year. I guess in this order, tell me about the loss of Zed, John, and then give me your thoughts on that win the other night.
Yeah, the loss is tough, right? Just because you could hear, the players, before us talk about how important he is and how well he's liked in the locker room. But, I think the Mammoth have built a team that, doesn't rely just on one person offensively, and they rely on a number of guys. And so, it's tough to lose someone like that, but, they have a balanced offense that now provides an opportunity for, people to step up, and you're not going to replace Zed with one player, but you can potentially replace him by collectively, right, supporting one another. And I think that's what you saw last week, right, versus Calgary. Calgary had a lot of momentum because of the big trade they made, earlier in the week, and bringing in Nick Rose and that potential. As you guys documented so well, there are very similar statistically, both teams were, but you could see, I went out there and went, man, this Calgary team is a massive team, just massive, big defensemen. And I was like, oof, I went, oh boy. And, but as Matt mentioned, the way the Mammoth move off the ball and how fast the ball moves, when they're kind of playing, and they were able to pick apart, Calgary. And, there was a time Calgary started to come back a little bit, but, you got Dylan Ward there, and you got a solid defense. And so, you can just see the confidence that the Mammoth offense had. You could see the confidence Dylan Ward had, and he was challenging shooters and being square to them. I think a couple of times you mentioned how far out he was, of the crease. And, that's now got to be what's going to be a challenge is continuing that momentum with a bye week, right? And it's continuing the conversations during the week and continuing the as Vela was saying there, just that piece of being connected. And as Matt said, when we had it in 06 with Gene Ash. When you get a goaltender that's playing well, and Matt will always tell you, he played for Arizona in the semifinal, and he firmly believes, they outplayed us, but Gene Ash stole that game, right? And he'll tell you that till the day he dies. And I said, yeah, but we still won, right? And so, I was very impressed with, how Colorado played, how fast they played, their movement, the crossing action. It was impressive. They just got to maintain that.
John, we appreciate it, man. Any night, any Wednesday night, you're sitting around and you're thinking, I'm kind of bored. Your boys are here if you want to jump on, talk lacrosse with us. But, man, we won't see you for a little bit of time, but hopefully maybe we'll see you out at Peter Barton as well, because the Mammoth are not home for a month. So
I appreciate it. And it's, it's funny. I got a couple pictures here of the first ever game, it was at Pepsi Stadium, it was Pepsi Center that time, and the first ever game versus Toronto behind me. And it's always, I played for the Colorado Mammoth my entire life. You guys said it earlier, I wouldn't be here without them and Steve Govett and obviously that, what that organization has done. And so, I'm always happy, to share my thoughts and to talk about them because of how important that organization has been, in my life. So, I talk a lot, so you got to be careful about inviting me on to things like this.
How late is this show going? I got to go to bed. I gotta work in the morning.
I just don't want to get anybody in trouble. That's all. So, hey, Johnny, we appreciate it, man. We'll start calling you captain. You're captain, Maddie's coach, and we'll go from there.
I appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Take care. All right, Jamie, let's, I think we've covered the last game. You and I got to talk plenty about it up in the booth. It was a nice, relaxing game for you and I for once because, man, it just feels like it always comes down to the wire inside the Loud House because I think that energy feeds both teams, not just the Mammoth. You've pointed to this stretch for the last 3 weeks on our broadcast. Now that we're about to it, not this weekend, folks, I got a weekend off, but 3 tough games. It starts with Ottawa a week from Saturday. What are your keys to survive this stretch, man?
Yeah, I mean, we've talked about it, but like you said, we've talked about this upcoming stretch, but we've also discussed, the Mammoth splitting games. If you look at their, the last, what has it been? Probably 7-8 games. It's win-loss, 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 win-loss. And, fortunately at this point, they are in a good position in the unified standings, but they can't keep that trend going. They can't go into this road trip and, lose, win, lose, right? You got to get 2 out of 3 of these in my mind. And, obviously they want 3, but, it's just going to be a confidence booster. Like if they can go into Saskatchewan, which is, in Saskatoon there, they have a great arena, great fan base. They're wild and, hostile environment, and their team is just rolling right now. They're deep everywhere on the floor. So if they can get a win, buildings like that, it's just that confidence booster. It's not like they don't have it in that room. They're, with Robert Hope, you can see how calm he is, and he's a very vocal leader. And, knowing Pat Coyle well, it's just not too high, not too low, just like Thomas Vela said. So I think it's just one game at a time. And like Vela said, like it's playoffs. Like you can't drop games. We talked about it on the broadcast. you can go from 4th to 10th in one weekend, right?
Yeah.
That's just how it is right now. So no more West Eastern Conference divisions, whatever they used to be called, but unified standing. So it's playoff time, and I think that's for everybody too. Ottawa is not an easy team either. I think in my mind they have the best player in the world in Jeff Teat right now, and he's going to do damage. And it's Vegas came in 2-ball arena and stole a win. So. Didn't see that coming, and so you can't take anything lightly in this league, and hopefully they can stay healthy. I think the bye week helps, right? Especially coming off of a win. Guys are banged up at this time of year, all over the league, but get some rest, like John just mentioned. Just stay connected, throughout the week, but this is big. Like this is a big test that this month of March could ultimately decide their fate.
Beginning of the year, beginning of the year, we thought 10 wins was the goal. You still think you got to aim for 10 wins? 10 wins get you in?
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that. Was it last year they went to the unified standings?
Yep,
Right, that was the first year. I remember talking to Dane Dobie early in the year. I think the Seals were here early in the year, and I talked to him after the game, and I asked him that exact question, like, what's the goal? And he said 10 wins. You got to get to 10 wins, and you're in. So, if you want more than 10 wins, you can get home playoff games and playoff advantage. That's even better. But I think that still stands. So, they're close. They obviously already surpassed their wins from last season. So that's a positive. But, I think this team, I think they are getting, besides Vegas, we'll write that off. But I think they are getting better every week. It doesn't matter who they're facing. You can see them taking the strides. And like Brownie mentioned earlier, when their offense is buzzing, man, they're unstoppable. I remember talking to Vancouver coach Kurt Malosky at the beginning of the year because they were coming in town for the first game, home opener, and he said, he's like, Colorado has the best offense in the league, and that kind of surprised me. You'd think guys would say Buffalo or other teams, but I'm believing what Kurt said because this team is so deep. But just how close they are, like they're so unselfish. There's no egos, Eli McLaughlin is one of the nicest, it's like a golden retriever puppy, he's just a happy guy, but just is so passionate and loves his team, and you can see the energy he brings when he scores goals. So I think just feeding off that and just can't have any flops like they did against Vegas. That's basically what it comes down to.
Yeah, they got to come out better than they did after the bye week a couple weeks ago, and hopefully that'll happen. All right, my man, we'll wrap this up. We'll do it. We'll plan on doing it again same time next week. We got to keep bugging all your friends. I don't know. I don't know what we'll do for a guest.
I got a few other alumni.
So yeah, you got a few around the league, right? We could get a few people in.
We just talked about how many guys, Canadian guys have moved down here and stayed. I mean, I got a handful of guys, Brian Langtree, Nick Carlson, Taylor Stewart, we got lots of guys that we can get their 2 cents. And 100%. Gavin Prout, I could probably get Gavin Prout.
Oh, we got to get Gavin. I haven't seen Gavin since his goodbye night.
There we go.
Honestly,
I'm sure the fans would love to see number 9.
Well, you know what? You got your to-do list that you didn't ask for. All right. Well, we appreciate everybody tuning in. Thank you to James Eunice for helping out as always. Thank you to Thomas Vela, to Coach Brown, to John Gallant, for Jamie Shuchuk. I'm Andy Lindahl. We'll talk to you next week on Mammoth After Hours. Good night, everyone.